Tapovan, a place whose very name literally means a forest of penance. A place where mythology says sages meditated under trees. Where Nashik's air cools down the moment you step under that thick canopy. Now imagine hundreds of those trees wearing yellow paint-like tags in a slaughterhouse. Rows of them, silent, marked, waiting. Not for the Kumbh Mela, for the axe. And all of this, we are told, is to prepare a green Kumbh. Honestly, if irony had branches, Tapovan would be full of them. Hello, I'm Tejas and you're watching Honest Take on Lokmat Times. Today we are diving into what is happening in Nashik's Tapovan, where more than 1700 trees, many of them old, native, heritage trees, may be sacrificed at the altar of a mega religious event that claims to honor nature but seems prepared to bulldoze it first. Let me walk you through the story clearly, but before that, please do subscribe to Lokmat Times if you haven't already and press the bell icon to never miss an update. On 11 November 2025, the Nashik Municipal Corporation quietly issued a notice saying about 1825 trees in Tapovan's Sadhugram zone would be cut, transplanted or heavily pruned to make way for roads, tent plots, water lines, electric connections and a large township for sadhus attending the upcoming Singhasta Kumbh Mela. These yellow marks that alarmed citizens weren't random. They were identifiers in a survey covering more than 3,500 trees, out of which around 1,700 were listed for removal because they came in the way of the development. All this expansion isn't small. During the last Kumbh Mela in 2015, the Sadhugram area was around 350 acres and housed about 2.5 lakh sadhus. This time, the plan stretches across 1152 acres, more than thrice the earlier size, aiming to accommodate nearly 10 lakh sadhus between October 2026 and July 2028. The Kumbh Mela Authority has already sanctioned about 3,200 crore rupees for this phase, including 1,000 crore rupees for land acquisition alone. Acres have been carved into zones. No development areas, permanently acquired areas, leased areas. On paper, it looks like a massive logistical exercise. On ground, it looks like someone tried to force a small forest to behave like a construction plot. That's when Nashik erupted. Within days, citizens began filing objections, first dozens, then hundreds. By the end of the week, more than 450 objections had landed at the NMC's doorstep. People weren't just complaining on WhatsApp groups, they were writing detailed letters questioning everything from environmental damage to planning choices to the hypocrisy of branding this as a green Kumbh while wiping out the green part of Tapovan. Then came the moment of agitation, a Chipko-style protest on November 18th. Activists hugged trees, residents stood shoulder to shoulder, people held placards saying "Save trees, save Nashik," while others physically wrapped their arms around trunks that had been marked for destruction. Political leaders, lawyers, students, senior citizens, everyone showed up. The videos went viral across Marathi media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and X. The message was crystal clear. Nashik isn't going to sit quietly and watch Tapovan get diced into plots. Here is where the story gets messy. The NMC initially claimed most of the marked trees were young babur and kashi, fast-growing species that sprouted after the last Kumbh Mela. They insisted old banyan, peepal and umber trees would be protected. Activists, however, pointed to yellow marked trees that were very obviously old neem, jamun, tamarind, trees with massive trunks, deep roots, ecological value and cultural significance. They argued that Tapovan isn't just green, it is sacred, it's a heritage landscape, it's a Ramayan territory. You cannot build a spiritual city by flattening the very forest that makes the place spiritual. This public pressure forced the NMC to pause and recalibrate its messaging. Additional Commissioner Karishma Nair clarified that the corporation was committed to saving old trees. She said the yellow markings were only for counting, not confirmation of felling. She added that only trees under 10 years of age would be removed if absolutely necessary. The garden department said about 1,200 trees, mostly young babur and kashid, were the ones likely to face the axe, and that every tree cut, they would plant the same number of saplings as the tree's age. In theory, cutting a 10-year-old tree would mean planting 10 saplings somewhere else in the city. In practice, everyone knows how often these saplings survive long enough to become proper trees. Meanwhile, activists laid out their demands. A development plan that avoids cutting a single mature tree. A public hearing held openly in Tapovan rather than inside a hall where objections can be diluted. Exploration of alternative land for expansion and a formal guarantee of protection for heritage trees. They also flagged the obvious contradiction, a city announcing a green Kumbh while planning to remove hundreds of old trees. Even sadhus, if they were asked honestly, would likely oppose the idea of chopping a forest to build their temporary accommodation. But this fight isn't just about Tapovan. It's about urban planning that treats trees as disposable obstacles rather than living infrastructure. It's about a pattern in every Indian city where you first plan the construction site, then look at the trees, then say, we will cut only the ones in the way, which usually turns out to be most of them. And it's about governments using sapling plantations as a magic eraser for environmental guilt. Saplings that rarely survive, rarely grow, and rarely equal what was lost. What's happening in Tapovan is a classic example of development without imagination. It takes no genius to draw a straight road through a forest. Real planning is bending the road around the trees. But bending requires effort and cutting requires only justification. Let's not pretend this is about religion. Religion does not demand this. Administrative laziness does. Bad planning does. The inability to think beyond grids and clearances does. If Tapovan's sages could speak today, they would probably ask why we are cutting down the exact landscape they once meditated in, so that centuries later their spiritual successors can meditate on concrete. The truth is blunt. Kumbh Mela will come and go. Tents will go, barricades will go, VIP routes will go, files will be closed, officers will be transferred. But if these trees fall, they are not coming back in our lifetime. You can plant a sapling anywhere. You can't replace a 70-year-old neem tree with a line of plastic guards around baby plants and call it compensation. Nashik still has a chance to do this right. The objections are in, the hearing is scheduled, and the stakes are too high to ignore. The city can either show the country how to host a mega religious event without murdering its ecological heritage, or it can send a very embarrassing message to the world. Welcome to Tapovan, formerly a forest, now a graveyard of stumps made for your convenience. And here is the thing. If the people of Nashik don't raise their voices now, this will become just another line in a long list of cities that sacrificed irreplaceable green cover for temporary convenience. But if they do stand firm, Tapovan might just survive this cycle of development by deforestation. I'm Tejas and this is Honest Take on Lokmat Times. Care about Tapovan? Then care loudly, because once these trees fall, there won't be anything left to hug except regret.